Bienvenido al Nuevo Mundo. In this PowerPoint, we're going to be looking at why they speak Spanish in the Americas. You will notice that I will have a little S for subtitles, so you can either read the subtitles or just listen to me, but you don't have to do both things. Who was there before the Spanish got to the Americas? Now, the continent itself had been discovered thousands of years previously, and the natives of the continent lived with all the trials and tribulations of any civilization, until one day something caught their attention in the horizon. They saw something that perhaps they couldn't make sense of, and what came out of that changed their lives forever. This is a map of Spain, and you can see the red dot there, which I'm going to zoom into. It's called Huelva. Now, Christopher Columbus set sail from Huelva. He had 3 ships, La Niña, La Pinta, y La Santa Maria. One of them foundered. This is the world as he would have known it. What is missing from this map? The Americas is missing. Christopher Columbus, who was a learned person, knew the earth was round, but the common people didn't. They thought the earth was flat. So when he was trying to get a crew together to travel around the world to get to the West Indies, he couldn't get anybody to go with him because the common people thought that the earth was flat and that once you reached the horizon, you would fall down. And he tried, but he could not get a crew. Eventually he did, but who do you think consented to go on a perilous journey? Who had nothing to lose by going on this journey? The answer was that the only persons that were willing to go were prisoners. And so Columbus's crew was composed pretty much of entirely of prisoners. He wanted to get to the West Indies because in those days more valuable than gold were spices. The usual route to get to the Indies was through the bottom of Africa, but if they did that, then they would have to fight the Portuguese. So Columbus thought, well, I'm going to go around the earth and I'll hit the West Indies going through the West. And that's what he did. And he set sail until he thought he was in the West Indies, but of course he was somewhere else. Now, Columbus died believing he was in the Indies. He never knew he had bumped into a whole new continent for the Europeans. And this is why he called the people, the natives, Indians. And why we all call them Indians to this day, the natives of South America. This is a map of what the continent looked like before it was completely mapped. How exciting it must have been, how mysterious to know that there's a place that nobody knows of ever or have ever heard of. So how come we do not call the new continent something like Colombia or Columbus? It is believed that in fact, because Christopher Columbus died not knowing he had discovered a new continent, that it was the Italian tradesman Amerigo Vespucci the responsible for naming the continent. Not that he did it himself, but it was probably named after him. He used to travel up and down the continent drawing maps and trading. And what we'll be doing next is watching one of 2 videos. You might either see an excerpt of a film portraying what life may have been like in the Americas before the Spanish got there, or you might be looking at what it must have been like for the Spanish going into that place, an unknown country.
¿Cuántas piedras tienen que quitar para que les queden 6 en cada grupo?
Hayab, Hayab,
Hayab.
Aba.
Aunque yo sabía que en toda Europa los estados se separaban, se rebelaban a la autoridad de la Iglesia, y aunque sabía bien que para preservarse allá, la Iglesia debía demostrar su autoridad sobre los jesuitas de aquí, no podía dejar de preguntarme si estos indios no habrían preferido que el mar y los vientos no nos hubieran traído a ninguno de nosotros.
And this is your final challenge. When the Spaniards go to the Americas, in their ship they had two huge trunks. One of them had NF on it, and the other had NM on it. Your task is to try and figure out what NF and NM stand for. Once you come back to the room, you write your guess on the chat. Okay, now these images give you a little clue as to what that means. What does NF and NM mean? And I leave you with Inti.